The more technology driven that we get, the more and more I believe that we're going to see crimes committed and acted out online. This is a trend that we are already seeing growing. And unfortunately, the story that we're going to look at today happened online. On Monday, April 18th, Earl Lee Johnson Jr., 35, of Louisiana, streamed on Instagram Live. The video was of him assaulting and ultimately killing 34-year-old Janice David of Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge police say that Johnson put his phone on the dashboard of a car that the two were in and recorded himself beating, choking, and stabbing Janice as the two sat in a car along South Sherwood Forest Boulevard. As he assaulted her, Johnson talked to the people watching online. The feed reportedly lasted 15 minutes and may have included him stabbing Janice in the neck. It has since been removed.
He choked her, he beat her, and he stabbed her,
said Sergeant Legene McNeely of the Baton Rouge Police Department. From there, he tried to set the car on fire.
As everyone has seen on Facebook Live, is very gruesome, very, very evil act.
Authorities arrested Johnson on Monday night for a separate charge where he had stolen a car and fled from police. He was charged with theft of a motor vehicle and aggravated flight from an officer in connection with that incident. Because he was under the influence of drugs, he was taken to a hospital before he was incarcerated.
So we launched our investigation, had a recording of the video. We already had him in custody. We interviewed him. He admitted to committing the killing.
When someone asked Johnson about the attack on Janice while he was in custody, he admitted to killing someone, is what was said. In fact, he later admitted to killing Janice with anything that he could get within his reach before attempting to set her car on fire. He also told detectives that he used force to get her back into the car after she tried to run away.
What we do believe is that they had been on at least a 3 to 4 day drug binge together.
He allegedly confessed to using both meth and heroin at the time of the killing. I only watched a couple of seconds of this video. It's already been taken offline by Instagram. But, of course, people record stuff and repost stuff, so just because something is taken down doesn't mean that it's down. My assistant was able to find it, and without letting me know what it was, I didn't even realize that we had it. I started it, watched a few seconds of it. What I saw was she's in the driver's seat, he's in the passenger seat, he's got his shirt off. They look like they're fairly comfortable in this clip that I have. It looks like he's hitting her with a bandana, except for that you can see blood appearing. He's got the knife inside of an orange bandana, and he's stabbing her with it. It's been reported that he believed that she tried to steal some of his drugs, and that's where all of this came from. Now, whether or not she actually did, supposedly in the video she agrees to it. Whether she's agreeing that she tried to take his drugs because she's thinking that maybe if she agrees and appeases him, he'll let her be because he's assaulting her, or she actually did, or methamphetamine I know produces hallucinations. I don't know a lot about heroin, but it's entirely possible that he just thought it. With drug use comes paranoia also.
As people on Facebook watched a possible crime airing in real time from Johnson's page, disturbed viewers reported the horrifying stream to Facebook. Facebook took it down and notified authorities in Louisiana.
Deputies from the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Department located the partially torched white BMW 5 Series parked outside of an office building around 10 p.m. on Monday night. Inside, they found Janice's naked and bloodied body with what has been reported as at least 10 stab wounds. Her hands were tied to the steering wheel of the car using jumper cables. On Tuesday, Johnson was charged with first-degree murder. He's been held without bail at the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison.
Earl Johnson Jr. said he loved his son as he was hauled off to prison today.
I love my son. I do whatever for my son, and I'm going to like time.
If found guilty, he could spend 30 years to life in prison, and that's probably where he ought to be. The East Baton Rouge Parish's coroner's office confirms that the manner of death for Janice David is homicide. David's cause of death is pending final autopsy report results, but the preliminary is smoke inhalation, second to intentionally set fire. It could be several months before an autopsy report for Janice David is released to the public. So basically, he stabbed her potentially 10 plus times. He also beat her and strangled her, and yet ultimately she died from smoke inhalation because he set her car on fire. So she lived through all of the other stuff, and probably would have lived through the other stuff had she gotten medical attention. And that sucks so much. The relationship between Johnson and Janice is not clear. Investigators are still looking into it, but it's possible and thought that maybe he was her boyfriend. We look primarily at intimate partner homicides on this channel, and while that's entirely possible that that's what this is an intimate partner homicide, even if it's not, even if it turns out to be just a woman who was with a dangerous man and drug use was involved, it is definitely still a women's safety issue that resulted in homicide. It still falls fairly squarely into the realm of what we deal with, and the book that I wrote would be 100% applicable here as much as anywhere else. Johnson is a Louisiana native with a violent criminal history.
The 9 News investigators have learned this is not Johnson's first run-in with the law. He was locked up back in 2005 on several armed robbery charges. He pleaded guilty to those charges in 2007 and was sentenced to 15 years behind bars. According to court records, his attorney at the time filed a request to reduce his sentence after he had served 4 years, but that was never approved.
That was the result of a number of armed robberies that he had committed over several months in 2005. Johnson took a plea deal in 2007 for 1 count each of first-degree robbery, attempted first-degree robbery, possession of stolen firearms, and receiving stolen goods. That resulted in him getting a 15-year sentence. And according to a Department of Corrections spokesperson, he served every day of his term and was never paroled or on probation. He seems to have gone back to his old stomping grounds, though, when he got out of prison on January 27th of this year, because as records show, 2 of the robberies that he had done in 2005 took place on Sherwood Forest Boulevard, where this murder took place. Janice's friends say that she worked for Domino's Pizza and that she was taking steps to get help with her drug addiction.
You still got me. You must have gave up on her as a human being. Seeing her as a human being with a problem, you gave up and just felt that her life was nothing.
Janice's friends were aware of her struggle with addiction, but they never gave up on her, believing there was still time for Janice to turn her life around.
We both just took her to go sign up for a class at her parole and probation officer. It ain't been 2 weeks since we did this. She was supposed to be in class this week. Never made it.
Certified peer support specialist Tanja Miles says she tried to help Janice over the years with her addiction.
One thing I remember about her was always her smile and always wanting to get out of, that life. I know that feeling. She has lost her life in this horrific way. She was basically robbed of seeing the recovery part of what, overcoming addiction looked like.
Miles says any type of user needs love and support in order to get through the recovery journey.
I don't care if we got to try it 1,000 times to get you help. We still going to keep trying. You still a human being just like us, man.
In a post on Facebook soon after the arrest, the Baton Rouge Union of Police blasted the, quote, sociopathy of Janice's murder and exhorted prosecutors to keep the community safe by seeking the maximum number of years in sentencing those accused of violent crimes. Keep us safe, the post said. Give them the max.
Police say they are glad and relieved to get 35-year-old Earl Johnson Jr. off the streets after a gruesome murder last night.
Very horrible. She didn't deserve to die like this. No one does.
Janice David's cousin and godmother, Terry Austin, says she couldn't believe it when she heard the news.
I really thought, when they said she died, that it would have been a vehicle wreck or something like that. Wouldn't have never dreamed someone would do this to her.
Janice Mary David went to be with our Lord and Savior on April 18th, 2022. Janice was born on November 3rd, 1987, to Ronnie and Melinda David. Janice was a native of Port Allen and a resident of Baton Rouge. Janice was the most loving daughter, sister, aunt, and friend. She will be remembered by family and friends as the kind and loving person that she was.
She was caught up in a world, I guess you could say, that, it was hard for her to get away from.
AddictionCenter.com says on their domestic violence and addiction page that nearly 80% of domestic violence crimes are related to the use of drugs. And as I reported in my book, drug abuse is a red flag of intimate partner homicide. Using drugs as an excuse for behavior is another red flag for intimate partner homicide. I don't know how long these two had known each other, how long they had been dating. Those things would have maybe given her some kind of an indication that there were red flags, but where she was also using, that makes your judgment very cloudy. So not only are you dealing with an addict, but you're also dealing with sort of a fog for yourself, for your judgment, for your memories. And so it can be even more difficult for you, if you struggle with addiction, to be able to identify and then respond to red flags like what I talk about in my videos. I don't know, like I said, a whole lot about heroin. I probably should have done some more research for that before I did this video, but I'm kind of on a time crunch. Methamphetamine, however, I have been around in the community quite a bit. It's something that plagues my community. It's something that I had an ex who used, at least one, potentially more, and it's something that almost led to my death several years ago because he came upstairs with a knife intending to kill me in my bed because he believed that he heard me having sex with somebody else in our bed while I was there sleeping. And the truth of the matter is, methamphetamine can cause hallucinations. He could have seen me having sex with somebody in our bed even though I was just laying there asleep. And he could have very easily stabbed me to death with my small children in the next room, and then maybe not gone after them too. So drug use and domestic violence and intimate partner homicide are very closely connected. Does it require drug abuse to have an intimate partner homicide situation? Absolutely not. Somebody can do that without any of this. But when you add drugs or alcohol abuse to the mix, it makes it so much more dangerous, more volatile. If you're dealing with domestic violence, the violence can become more violent. Domestic violence is not caused by drug abuse or alcohol abuse, but it is made worse. Domestic violence is caused because of a belief system. But when you have that belief system in a cocktail, pun intended, mixed with some type of substance that jacks up their minds and their bodies, sometimes like in the case of meth where they get these ridiculous amounts of strength and energy that come from nowhere, come from the drug, you have a very dangerous situation. You have a situation like this one that I reported on a couple of weeks ago, where this guy was able to stab a 6-year-old girl in the face to kill her while she was in her bed, and then kill her mother because he was hopped up on drugs and he had a trauma history that he hadn't dealt with properly. If you are concerned for your safety in your relationship, I don't care if you've been in your relationship for 2 days or 30 years. If you're concerned for your safety, there's a reason for that. Your intuition is telling you that you are in danger. Please don't go through it alone. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They have resources that they can connect you with that I can't. They literally are supposed to have phone numbers and contacts for all over the country, wherever you are, to be able to connect you locally. I can't do that. They have a network that is amazing. Please reach out, or reach out locally for yourself. There are crisis centers, there are shelters, there is police, victim advocates. Sometimes there are places. Look it up. Go to, if where you live is anything like where I live, go to truck stops or gas stations that are close to highways and interstates. A lot of times those gas stations have information in the stalls, in the bathrooms. Are you safe? Are you in danger? Call somebody. Please, please, please Do not deal with it on your own. And if there are drugs or alcohol involved, be aware that that makes it worse. That puts you in more danger. I'm so sorry for Janice and anybody else who has to deal with this. Nobody deserves that. Nobody should go out like that. You deserve better. Do you hear me? Are you listening? Reach out for help. Do not do it alone. I know it's scary. And I know that there's shame. That shame is not yours to bear. It belongs to the abuser. Know that you are loved. Know that you are worth it. Know that you deserve more, even if nobody else has told you that before in your entire life. I am telling you that now. Until I see you again, please stay safe.
Spokesperson with Facebook's parent company Meta. She told me the video of the murder was actually live streamed on Instagram, not Facebook. Her statement reads in part, quote, "We've removed the video from our platform, disabled the account that posted it, and will be supporting law enforcement in their investigation. I'm told Instagram's community guidelines apply to live videos, just like they do for other types of content. And if someone violates those rules while using the live feature, officials at Instagram try to interrupt the streams as quickly as possible once it is reported. Anyone can report violations during a live broadcast."
There's a variety of monitors. There's a variety of agents, which are intelligent agents that are looking through content feeds on a continuous basis to try to find anything that's malicious in intent.
That expert tells me social media platforms use a variety of automated mechanisms to flag violent content like the video in this case and alert law enforcement.
Police say they are glad this man is off the streets.